What's going on, everybody? Hope that you are doing well this fine Wednesday. I know it's a weird time to go streaming. A lot of you guys are, busy with church stuff and Awanas and church programs and, just living your life, that kind of stuff. So actually, I thought it'd be a good time to do something that only like a few people have asked me to do. I get a lot of messages throughout the week of like, hey, can you cover this? How about you do a stream about this? I've only gotten like 2 messages in the last like month about like, hey, how do you do something? But that's enough. That's enough. If you know any content creator out there, there's nothing more that we like talking about more than content creation. Like it's kind of like you ask someone who's a vegan about what it's like to be a vegan, and you just listen for like an hour as they just go on and on. Like that's kind of what I plan on doing today. All right. So I have been asked a couple times just a little bit about like, how did you get started like with content creation? What do you do? How do you stand out? Things like that. And that mixed with my complete disdain for the niche that I'm actually in, I thought it'd be good to kind of just have a conversation about it and to, just have like a little avenue where I can point people down and be like, hey, if you want to know how to do this thing, like, of course, there are experts, and I am not claiming to be an expert, okay? I don't do that about pretty much anything that I talk about, but especially this one, I have failed multiple times, all right? Lots of times I have failed, all right? Like this isn't coming from like having won the lottery of YouTube and now I can tell you guys how to fix it and do it like all the things and get the monies and all those kinds of things. That's not what I do. But I thought it'd be fun to talk about, what I use to do these streams, how I think marketing matters, and the kind of stuff to avoid. Because here's the deal. Like I already said, I am not an expert, but some of you guys might be even more of an expert in the field that I'm in than I am, like, and maybe you guys should think about starting something. Like, yes, the wave has ended. Everyone started stuff during COVID, and now it's like that wave has just gone away. So there's not as much push behind things from like analytics and YouTube side stuff, but there is always a need for more content creators. You know how I know that? Because I'm always looking. Like I am constantly, when I'm on YouTube looking for things, if I see something different, I'm probably clicking on that thing. So if you have ever thought about starting a podcast, starting a blog, starting a YouTube channel, starting anything really online, social media, like that's the kind of stuff I want to focus on tonight. And just like, I'm hoping an hour and a half or so just to go through some things and get some specific questions from you guys. But we need more. We need more people, especially, I'm obviously biased, but I like this community a lot. I like you guys, and I like what we're about here. And I see so many people getting started and growing, some of them growing a ton through hatred, through looking at the world and just saying shame on you constantly. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's productive. And I don't honestly think it's all that creative. But I think that people in this community who might be kind of thinking about some of these things, I think you guys can probably do a lot better job than some of these people that are out there, including myself. Again, like one of you guys might watch this thing, upload a video, and who knows, something about that video catches fire, and next thing you know, you got 1 million subs. It could happen. It could happen to anybody. It's like angels in the outfield, It could happen. We're gonna hope that it could happen for some of you guys. But I want to say hi to people who are here. Carol Ann is here. Kip, Michael S., my dude. I need to return some messages. David is here. Wendy, Winsome Pickett, who is quoting me, complete disdain for the niche that I'm already in. Well, you know what they say about realization about the first step. It's denial. It's denial. We got to deny that thing. And the focal point with Luke Daly, the focal point sounds so like legit. The focal point with Luke Daly. Tell us your secrets. I will try. All right. But here's what I want to do. I'm going to go a little bit like Schoolhouse. All right. This is just how my mind works. Whenever I'm doing pretty much any kind of teaching, I am using a whiteboard because I am old school. And so let's just take a look at this thing. And I want to go through some questions that you need to think about. And again, this like well, maybe I should do that first. Let me talk a little bit about where I'm at and how long I've been doing online content stuff and kind of my background. I have done everything underneath the sun as far as content creation online. I had a blog way back in the day, in the early days of the Young Restless Reform movement. It was not well read, but it was mine, and I had fun with it. And then it grew over time. When I was pastoring, I had a fairly well-read blog. It wasn't getting, tens of thousands of views a month, or reads, I guess. But it was getting thousands, so it was doing all right. But then I decided not to do that anymore. Had some other things take up my time. So like I've done the blogs from the early days. I've done YouTube several times. I've tried it several times, had some wins and some losses. I talked about it recently, but I've done also the movie stuff, as some of you guys already know, and you're already tired of hearing me talk about the movie thing. I'm not going to talk about it too much tonight. All right, but I do have a movie channel. And back in the day, I wrote for moviepilot.com, which was basically like a blog, and had one of their most viral posts. So like I know generally how to get things going. I'm not saying I'm great at it, but I have been trying for a long time because there's something fun about it, at least for me. Like, I like that I can put stuff online, like these videos, and stream, and I can talk to you. And I can also, like, there's something in me that gets some satisfaction out of that. Like, it's not just, okay, we can develop friendships and community, but there's something fun in having, like, other people read your stuff and value your opinion, right? Like, that validation is why you post it online. Like, sure, you want to help people. And if you do, that's a great reason why to get started. But I think that there's something inside pretty much anyone who's interested in this kind of stuff that you want to be validated in some way. You want your opinion to be at least heard, if not considered. And maybe you're one of those people that's just like, I need someone to agree with me. Don't start anything. If you're one of those people who are just like, you cannot agree to disagree with me, we don't need any more of you guys on the internet. There's plenty out there. They all have the anonymous crusade symbol. Like, we don't need you. But we do need people who will think through things and, want their opinion to be shared and to have some back and forth with people. There's a reason why we all hit publish and all that, because it's fun. So let me go into this of what do you want to make? All right, because if you're thinking about this stuff, most likely you have some kind of content that you want to make. Now, my thing in bringing this up right off the bat is I'm obviously a Christian. If you're watching this, Underdog Theology, you are most likely a Christian. And I think that there is something really wrong with Christian creativity, that we think that everything has to be gospel. All right? Not everything a Christian has to do has to be related to the gospel. All right, now, should it be kind because you're a kind person, because you're living out the ethics of the kingdom? Sure. Like, should you be glorifying God with whatever you do? Absolutely. But the guy who's making sandwiches at Subway, who is glorifying God by making sandwiches, doesn't have to carve John 3:16 into every, slice of bread, right? like there's a way that we glorify God with the creativity that we show in making something, because when we are being creative, it's an example of us being created in the image of God. He's a creator, so we're creative people. And there's a way that we glorify God in doing that. Martin Luther was one of the guys that really propelled that forward in glorifying God through your secular work. And I think that that's important for Christians to remember, is that if you want to get started in doing any kind of online content, and again, that goes through the whole gambit, like, it's cool to have a blog, all right? You don't have to do what everyone else is doing, all right? Oof. We're going to switch up the colors because I like colors, all right? I don't know why this thing keeps on doing that. We'll go like this. Your own thing. All right, just because everyone's hopping on YouTube, they're not. But if they were, if everyone's hopping on YouTube, doesn't mean you have to start a YouTube channel. All right, if you want to write a blog and you're like, oh, I heard that it's dumb to write a blog in 2024 because everything is video, don't listen to that. Write a blog. Do what you want to do. Don't force yourself to do something that everyone else is doing or something that's trendy. This is something that I've learned specifically with short form content. I don't like it. One, it never goes well for me. People always hate me whenever I make anything short, because a lot of, like, you're chopping up all the context for something. So all they hear is that 30 to 40 seconds of me saying Mark Driscoll was wrong about something. And the algorithm doesn't know what to do with it other than to share it with every Mark Driscoll fanboy. And so they all come for my throat. That's not fun. So that's why I don't do a lot of shorts. All right. You don't have to do that. You can make as long of content as you want. You can make as short of content as you want. You could do it in whatever avenue that you want. And as a Christian, just because you're a Christian doesn't mean that you have to have a Christian channel. All right. So if you're here and, like, you just really love Only Murders in the Building. I was talking about that on Twitter a little bit ago. So, it was a YouTube comment. But Only Murders in the Building. All right. Great show. All right, maybe you want to start an after show podcast about that. All right, well, there's a lot of people who are going to be doing the same thing, but let's say you really want to do that. You don't have to find a way to make that Christian. All right, a way to get the gospel out into something. Just make that. It's okay to make that. Make whatever you want. If you think about something and you're like, I have a great idea, I don't see people doing it, and, I think that this could be really big. One, you're probably wrong, but also, like, it's been thought of. There's nothing new under the sun. But let's say you're right about that. Like, is it actually something you want to do? Like, are you going to get tired of that? Is it something that you're passionate about? Like, you need to do things that you're passionate about, because most of the time, these things that we do online, they don't make money. Unless you are one of those people that's peddling and you're just like, hop onto my Patreon every 5 seconds. There's not a lot of money to be made doing this stuff. It actually costs a lot of money if you're going to get all the tech and stuff, or pay for different programs that you might have to use to make thumbnails and to do the live streaming and to do all the things that you want to do. A lot of that costs money. So if you're doing it for the money, it's not going to work. You have to be passionate about that. And even if you were to make money, eventually you get burnt out. And there's this thing that's been going on with YouTube specifically, of all these content creators that have been doing stuff for 10, 15 years, doing like the heavy hitting, tech reviews and stuff like that. And they get burnt out and they end their careers. Like, it seems like everybody is like shutting down their channel this year because they're all burnt out, because it wasn't a passion that they could sustain, or at least they wanted to dive into other things that they're passionate about. And there's no shame in that, by the way. You could always change, your avenue. We'll talk about what I've done here on my channel to do that. But you got to do your own thing. You got to do your own thing. Yes. If you want to start a Christian channel, go and start that Christian channel. Star123. There's like a ton of at least tech people that have been like, after 15 years on this platform, I'm changing things, or they're like really changing up their content to where it's like, what are you even doing? All the people that subscribe, they don't care about that stuff. It would be like if I actually just full on switched this channel to be my movie channel. That would not be helpful for you guys. You guys subscribed for theology and for talking about these celebrity pastors and doing that kind of stuff. If I did a pivot today because of the thumbnail that I made, which by the way, I hope everyone gets the tongue in cheek of that thumbnail, because it is my roast of all the different people who try to get famous by telling everyone how to get famous, even though they haven't gotten famous yet. Like it's a gimmick. All those companies, all right, let me just be real honest with you for a sec. All those companies, even some people that are Christians who start channels to be like, here's what to do to succeed on YouTube, they don't know what they're talking about. All right, I've tried all those things, and this channel is still at 7,000. So like that doesn't work. All right. And if they did work, then why aren't all of them, 2 million subscriber channels? That's a side point. I told you this is going to be like real niche. This is going to be me kind of just talking about everything that I'm not happy about with content creation, but I want to be helpful. So, all right, what do you want to make? You got to ask yourself that question. What kind of content do you want to make? What specific content do you want to make? Do you want to do poetry in blogs, or do you want to do comic books? I love comic books. I thought about starting a comic book channel back in the day. That would be fun. That's something I'm passionate about. That's something I could talk a lot about, which is another part of this. Like, you need to find things that you are an authority or novice. All right. So if you are going to be starting anything, like, again, social media is part of this. Like, there are so many people who might do great posting, like 240 characters on Twitter that would never be able to sit in front of a camera and talk like how I'm doing right now. Like, that would freak them out. They don't want to do that. But they are so much better at doing those 240 characters than I am. Like, I could do this, and I'm not great at Twitter, but there are people who can do amazing things on Twitter and not do this, right? So you gotta find what you're passionate about, what kind of things you are interested in, what medium you want to do. Do you want to talk for a long time in a podcast? Are you super entertaining? Like, I don't know if I am, but some of you guys have said I am. So you guys watch, even though I rant for an hour and a half about nothing, like, it's just how it is. So, but if you're not entertaining, if people can't listen to you for an hour and a half, don't make content that's an hour and a half, but you also have to know what you're talking about. Now, again, I don't claim to be an expert in my field, but I do have at least some authority because I've been a pastor for a decade, because I have 3 theology degrees, because I've been through the ringer too. Like, I've talked about it a few times, but I've seen some of this stuff up close. I have personal experience with some of this kind of related issues, and some that I've talked about and some that I never will, because it's not really appropriate for me to do on a public platform, or at least I don't want to on a public platform. But I have experience in it. So that's probably why some of you guys listen to me, is because I have somewhat a limited amount of authority. Now, if that's why people who are like Dr. Michael Brown, there's a reason why he goes by Dr. Michael Brown, not Michael Brown. Like, you put doctor in the name. Even though if you were talking to the guy, I hope that you would just be able to call him Michael or Mikey or Big Mike or Michael. I don't know. But he's a doctor, so he puts that in. There's authority baked into that. Or there's another way to do it. So maybe you're like, I don't know, I'm not an expert on really anything. Well, what are you learning? Like, because there's also this thing, people want to watch people learn new things. All right, another niche that I dive in is the movies. Drinking game for me talking about the movies. All right, but grape juice. Grape Juice Baptist. Don't get mad at me, Luke Daly. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Luke's not a Baptist. Or are you Baptist? You're Baptistic. You don't have to, out yourself in the chat. I'm just saying. But movies, there's this whole thing where people will watch people react to watching movies for the first time. So they don't have an expertise on that. Like they're not like, film students. They haven't gone to film school and learned how to like really dive deep into what the story is and the different elements and when does the first act break up into the second act and how was the second act slow and like maybe not that. But they like movies, they're entertaining people, and they're learning about a new movie by watching it for the first time. And that's like a whole niche. And people will get thousands and thousands of views because they're learning something. There's something in us as people that we like to see someone advance. So like there are people, and I'm not saying it's great when it comes to the Christian world, but there are people who used to be atheists, but now they're Christians. And so people follow that because they like the journey. Like maybe they aren't going to get all their theology. I really hope you're not getting all your theology from someone who just became a Christian. There's still qualifications that we see in Scripture for someone who's going to teach. It's not just about the local church, even though it's specifically to the local church. But anyways, like there's something in us that we like to see someone advance. So we might not get our theology from them, but we like to see them progress. And there's like, that's all across the board. You can look up pretty much any niche on YouTube and say like, learning something and look at that channel and you can do a deep dive and there'll be plenty of people who don't have any expertise in the field, but they're learning how to crochet and they're stumbling through it. Here's what I made this week. And those channels can do well too. So if you are learning something, and for Christians, if you're maybe a seminary student, I've gotten quite a few seminary students who watch this channel. You might want to think about starting a channel, not to where you're telling everyone what they need to believe and how to behave and where they're wrong and all these things. Those things will most likely come back to embarrass you later once you learn some things. But you could make videos about, I read Pilgrim's Progress, and this is how Heidi Goings is wrong about Pilgrim's Progress. I'm sorry. Heidi might watch this back. And she was going at me on Twitter today about Pilgrim's Progress, and I was like, how dare you? I didn't really go into it, but I have videos about it. But yeah, like you could do that. You can do that. So authority or novice, you need to pick one of those lanes. And I would say whatever you're closest to, whatever you have experience in, like if you would think like maybe you wouldn't say you're an expert, but you're like pretty knowledgeable about it, you should probably lean with this one, or if you're just new to it and you're exploring some things, or, I think a great avenue for people that might be, watching my content would be the people who have changed their views, like they've deconstructed in some way. And they're like, learning new things or showing how something that they learned when they were younger as a Christian or just as a human being, that was wrong and they've progressed in that. Maybe think about making a video about that or a blog post about it and showing your process. And yeah, that might be more of a novice thing, but it's something that you're experiencing and you might want to share that experience. Again, we like validation, and there might be someone who might be helped by that, of seeing how you've changed on something and not gone like, full, leftist, all the things that a Christian nationalist would say. But, might be helpful for them. So what do you want to make? Decide what you want to make. Don't just make something because it's super popular or because you think it will work, but also, will it work? like you can start something. Like it doesn't have to. I guess I should say that first. I don't know why this line keeps on happening. What is this? One time I tried to do something fun. All right. We'll see why. All right. It doesn't have to. So I know that there's no either. I'm not great at spelling. Okay. But you could start something and know that it's going to work, or have an idea that this could work and go that route. But also understand, if you want to make something and you're viewing it as a hobby or a way to catalog things, then just do it. It doesn't have to work. This channel started as a family vlog. All right. During the pandemic, like everyone else, we were bored and there wasn't a lot on TV. So we decided to have fun making videos. And so pretty much wherever we went, I would shoot just like a little bit of video and, just have fun hanging out with my family. Now, you can't find those on my channel because as the channel grew, got a little weird of people like knowing and seeing my kids doing all different kinds of things. So, I made those private. But you don't have to. If everyone in your family's cool with that, I'm going to wait until my kids are a little older before, I show them on camera all the time and, when they're having fun and when they're not having fun and all that kind of stuff. But that's what this channel started as. And then it progressed and I started talking about some things that I was passionate about. And then I really always loved the idea of live streaming. That's like the funnest thing in the world to me, is being able to do a live stream. And so like, that's where we went with this channel. But at the beginning, it wasn't like I was like, how did this video do? It was my family vlog and I would share it to my family, and it didn't have to work because it was a hobby. And if that's what you're looking at with online content creation, just do that. Like just have fun making stuff, and it doesn't have to work. But if you do want it to work, if you're one of those people that's nuts like me and likes marketing and likes the idea of gaining more influence, like, let's be honest, okay? It's not all about the numbers here. If it was, I would be streaming way more often and I would be doing different kinds of streams where it was very focused. But I tried that and it's not fun. So like, you got to balance these things out. But if you do want it to work, there's some things that you need to think through. Like, you really need to think through this thing. Oh my goodness, this is going to bother me so much. I thought it'd be so fun to have this. All right. Niche. All right. You need to find your niche. You need to find out what specific, I know it's niche. Okay. It's a joke. You need to find out what specific niche you're going to be a part of and develop that and go as niche as you can without being too weird. All right. And you got to find that balance for yourself. All right. If it's going to be comic books, because I already brought that up, what kind of comic books? Don't just do comic books, because there's a lot of channels that do comic books. Maybe focus on comic books from the 70s, or how comic books are different than their adaptations in film. Like, you can get specific. Be as specific as you can, because the algorithms, and whether that's on YouTube, social media, even Google with blogs and SEO, they need to find out who you are, like what you're about, before they can send you to anywhere. All right. If you want that thing that you're doing to be successful and get views and develop followers or subscribers, and maybe that could even lead into like patrons on Patreon or something like that, you have to be as niche as possible. This is something that I have stumbled into. Okay. Because I always heard that and thought that was dumb. And I was just like, well, people like people, and you could just be you, which is true. Like, people do like people. And the reason why you're watching this channel, and, if you're this far into the stream, it's most likely because you like me at least a little bit, even if you hate like me. There are plenty of people who watch me just to see me fail with my audio or with little lines that are made somehow with this thing. There are people who are like that and they want to see you fail. All right, fine. You gave me a view. Thank you very much. But most likely you're watching this because you like me. And so there is something to that. But that's what keeps people. That isn't what gets people. So if you want to get eyeballs on whatever you're doing, you need to be niche. It can't just be a generic thing where I talk about the NBA. there's a lot of people who talk about the NBA. Do you talk about the Raptors only? Because that's a much smaller pond. And maybe if you do better than other people who talk only about the Raptors, well, maybe you could do something there. Or if you show your personality in that. Because now the algorithm knows that I don't have to try to send you to the NBA people who are already watching, so many different channels. I can send you to only the people in Toronto, because apparently only people in Toronto like the Raptors, even though it's all Canada's team. But, like you might want to think about that. Go a little bit deeper into whatever niche you're talking about. So for me, I started talking about theology. And I quickly found out that I didn't care about talking about everyone in theology. All right. I don't care about talking about Joel Osteen. I use this as an example a bunch. So if you're tired about hearing about this, sorry. But I tried to make underdog theology into more of a brand, and tried to get more gimmicky, and tried to get more clickbaity, and tried to get more mainstream. Because I wanted this channel to grow up into a business. And, I made some mistakes with that. I talked about Joel Osteen. I didn't care. I didn't care about Joel Osteen. You guys don't care about Joel Osteen. You told me because no one watched that video, even though I worked hard on it, even though the thumbnail I thought was a pretty great thumbnail. We'll get into this thumbnails and stuff like that in a little bit. But, I thought it was more mainstream and, bigger pond, but people didn't care, but then when I talk about the things that you guys actually want to hear my opinion on, like John MacArthur, like all of a sudden things are different, so I learned, one, I don't want to make videos about Mike Todd, like everyone and their mom makes a video about Mike Todd. I don't care. I don't know people who have been swindled by Mike Todd into listening to him. So I don't have personal experience with that, but I do have personal experience with people being swindled into listening to Mark Driscoll. Like I could talk about that. Like that's something that I know people are struggling with, and I can talk about those things because I'm also knowledgeable about it. Like those are the things that you guys want to hear me talk about too. So there's like this perfect storm that has to happen. And again, this channel isn't big, but the momentum that we built here on the channel is because a lot of these things have connected. All right. So like what I'm passionate about is the reformed world of Christianity being hijacked by weirdos and people who are Christian nationalists and the Doug Wilsons of the world and awful people with awful theology, but they claim to be reformed. And that's what I'm passionate about. And you guys are also passionate sometimes about that specifically, but also you're passionate because maybe you're not even reformed, or you've never even been to a reformed church. You don't none of that rings true for you, but you don't like Doug Wilson because you see what he's doing. And it's not only like some of us reformed guys who are it's a lot of people. Probably mostly other people are looking at Doug Wilson and being like, what in the world? So you guys have connected through that we both have that in common. And then you add up on top of it, maybe you like the style of stuff. Maybe you like the background, some of you guys don't. And I get that it's the movie set and I'm not changing it because it's just too much to change it back and forth. Although next year, We're going studio, baby. Oh yeah. We're going legit. It's going to be fun. It's going to be nice. We're taking over the shed. And by shed, it's a little house in my backyard. And we were using it for toys, but the kids don't play enough in there. And Heather was just like, maybe you should make that into the studio. And I was like, what? So that's going to be happening. But maybe you like the background. Maybe you like the quality of the video. That's one thing I noticed right off the bat. As soon as some people started paying attention to what I was doing, they referenced how good the quality was. And it's not really because I have that great of quality, because go look at John Adams' stuff and then look at my stuff, and it's not the same. But if you look at my stuff and then you go look at, whoever on their webcam, my stuff looks a little bit better. And like thumbnails make a difference when it comes to this stuff too. Put some effort into that. Be creative. Do the things you want to do with that. But, you got to be somewhat gimmicky. And so adding all those things together, finding your niche, being a little gimmicky, sometimes you might get uncomfortable with it. I know I've made some thumbnails that, looking back, I wish I could change. And I have. not I wish. I did that because I can do that, because I can click delete and add in a different picture. But I've done that because it felt like I probably went a little too hard on that one or something. But let me be clear. All right. Don't become a used car salesman with your stuff. All right. I'll come back to some of these thoughts here in a sec, but let me get into this. All right. Pitfalls to avoid. All right. Used car salesman. What is up with these lines? I don't get it. I'm going to ditch this app. But don't hype yourself up too much, okay? I've made this mistake many times over the years of thinking I have something. I have something and it is important and everyone needs to know about this thing. And so I posted, like back in the day when I was on Facebook, which I think I'm coming up on 5 years sober from Facebook. So, congratulate me in the chat. I've been off Facebook for a long time. But back in the day, I would post it on Facebook. I would post it on Twitter. Basically every avenue. Back in the day, Tumblr. Every platform I could, I would post about every single thing that I made. You know how often people like to check those things out? Barely ever. Like, maybe you're one of those people that, like, people want to know your thoughts. Not me. But I want to know your thoughts, but like, people don't want to know my thoughts. But like, you post on Facebook and you get like 80 comments every single time and they want to have interaction with you. Maybe you are that kind of person, and maybe this won't be like super helpful for you. But most people, like people who are in your family, they don't care. They don't care about your blog. They don't care about your YouTube video. They don't care about your Twitter. They might check up on you. All right. They might want to know, what did you say? Or they see a title and they're like, is this about me or does this have me in it? And they might want to check that out, but they don't care. So don't go all over the place selling your goods as if it's like the greatest thing ever. Sometimes it's okay to start off in silence and just like work hard on it. And, if you need to post a few things, then post it. If you have other avenues where you have opportunity to have people who would be interested in it come over, like, okay. But I would say probably do that with a little sense of like, could you guys do me a favor and check this out if you're interested? I've done that with the movie channel Drinking Game. But like, if you're interested in movies, you can go over and check that out, but you don't have to. And I'm not going to be mad if no one does, So don't go all over. Don't annoy all your friends with everything that you've ever done, because I know I've done that, and it's not great. But also, let's talk about this. All right, don't be a jerk. All right, there are plenty of people who have gone through this, and they're like, okay, what am I passionate about? Well, I'm passionate about, maybe theology. Let's just stick with theology because it's the niche. All right. And they've gone through and been like, what will work? Well, you can be real clickbaity about some stuff, and you can like make people look like they're the worst human beings ever made because they have a difference of opinion to you. And so they go online and they make the thumbnails, and it's like the red eyes on everybody, and everyone is the worst. Everyone has forsaken the gospel. There's a YouTuber right now that I just saw today. I don't watch the videos. But I just saw, and if you know 'em, you know, all right. But I won't say their name. But there's a YouTuber right now, a Christian YouTuber, who is talking about an author not being allowed in Florida. All right, Stephen King, and has Stephen King on the thumbnail reading a book that has a word on it. It makes it seem like Stephen King is that thing. All right, it's a very bad thing. You go to prison for that thing, because they don't like some of the content that's in Stephen King's book. But they make it seem like Stephen King is that thing. Don't be that guy. Don't make content like that. All right, that is so clickbaity and gross, and you're just constantly looking at the world. And maybe you would never do that to a Christian, but because it's someone who you don't think is a Christian, you just get to throw whatever you want into thing, because people are going to click on that video thinking that somebody found something out about Stephen King. That ain't cool. All right. You're a jerk if you do that. It's a horrible way to present people. Now, can you have a little bit of fun with some of this stuff and be clickbaity? Because again, you want people to click, right? Like, I make thumbnails because, like, maybe they're not good, but in my mind they are, and they get people curious. And so I try that, and I put my own little style on it, and I have fun with it. And, I put it on there for people to click on it. So you have to get someone's attention with your title, even blogs. This is the same thing can be said for blogs. But you read a blog, like, not because you like know that person, maybe like we've all read blogs that we don't know the authors to at all. All right. You read a blog because the title was enticing. Everything that you see online, has to have some kind of, enticement to it. Right? You have to want to check it out, because you have to click the button. You have to make a decision right then. Are you going to pass this by? Is this going to be one of 10,000 things that you see online today that you're going to pass by and scroll past? Or is this going to be one of 100 things that you check out in a day? You got to make that decision every time you're scrolling. So they have to stop you. I have to stop you, right? Like, if I want you to watch my video, I have to stop you from doing whatever else you're doing in the day and grab your attention. All right, so I do that through the titles and through the thumbnails on YouTube. And I'm not saying I'm great at that, but you have to develop that skill. But don't develop it in a way that, like, because it's easier. It's easier to be the jerk. All right, don't be the jerk, though. It's really bad. It makes Christians look really bad, too. Like that, you're just making the world look like everything they do is like everyone's going to prison every single day for everything that they've ever done in their life. And it makes people think that you just don't like the world, like you don't care about them, you don't love them. It seems like you are lying about people. Like, so just don't do that. Whatever you're doing, whatever your title, whatever your thumbnail, whatever that image even that you're going to put in your blog. I don't know why I'm so focused on blogs. But that picture, you're going to have to try to find a picture that's going to work for people, right? So everything that you make, it could be the greatest thing in the world, but if it doesn't have good packaging on it, like, again, like, that's just like the hooks, the marketing of it. Like, if it doesn't have good packaging on it, people aren't going to watch it. Like, or at least they're not as likely to watch it. You'll have to have people share it, and it has to be organic growth rather than the algorithm be like, oh, okay, like, maybe we could push this through. So don't be a jerk. You got to think about your time and your money. All right, how much are you willing to invest in this idea? Financially, yes. Like, there are things in this room that cost a lot of money. All right. And, I've had different fundraisers on the channel, so I don't want to whine about it too much. But a lot of it has come out of my pocket. But, I've got a camera. I've got a lens there. I've got another lens here. I've got my big light here. I've got other lights on here. I've got a second monitor. I've got my MacBook. I've got my Stream Deck. I've got my audio interface. I've got this microphone. I got this microphone stand. I've got, all the things for the set. I've got the graphics card thingy. There's like 1,000 things that I needed to get this channel going with live streams in the way that I wanted to do them. That's money. Do Do you have money for that? Do you want to do that? Do you have the time for it? Maybe you are a super busy person, and even though you would like to get things going, you don't have the time for it. Maybe build up, save some of that stuff that you think is creative and will stand on its own. And maybe it's not time sensitive, as in you're reacting to something that just happened and writing an article or making a video or doing a podcast about that thing. Build that up. Do it in the time that you do have. But also, your self-worth. All right. Because again, there's something in us as human beings that we want to be validated with our opinions in the things that we make, the creative energies that we use to get this stuff out into the world. And, sometimes that backfires. You make something and nobody cares and it hurts your feelings. Like, I've done that. I'm currently doing that. Like, not right now, like not this specific moment. But like, with other creative endeavors, movies, drinking game. But I think I'm making cool stuff, but not as many people are watching it as I think it's worth right now. And that's on me. Like, I have to find a way through that, or find another way to entice people or get better at what I'm doing. That could be the problem. Maybe the videos suck. So I need to do all that stuff. But it is hard as a creative person to not put your self-worth into that project. To have a blog post that you worked really hard on and you write it and you see in whatever view counter that you have, like however you can track that stuff, you see 4 people went to your website. That sucks. It's a bad feeling. It's a bad day. Like you sing the song, "You had a bad day," and you cry in the corner, and then you move on. You got to be able to move on. Take the punches and roll with them, and learn what you have to from it, because there's always a reason why things don't work. Sometimes you'll think you have something figured out and you realize apparently, no, you didn't. Example, movie channel. I made a video 2 weeks ago. Like, as I've been doing this podcast, Dean in Real Life, where I've been diving into movies from the 2000s. I had some of them get over 1,000 views, and then some of them get 60 views. And I was like, what the heck? I'm putting so much effort into this thing. And it was kind of hurting my feelings that like no one was watching it and it wasn't doing well, even though one episode I thought was like way better than the others, but like whatever, people didn't watch it, like whether it's algorithm, I had to figure it out. But then I was like, all right, let me try a different avenue. So I tried a 7 to 8 minute video about The Majestic, the movie from 2001. I really love that movie, and I think it has a lot to say about movie theaters. So I tied it to that. And that video did pretty well, like for a small channel. It has like 3,500 views, something like that, maybe a little bit under to that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. This is the avenue. But then I try another video in that same style about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and when was the exact moment it was born. I thought it was clickbaity enough. I thought it was a pretty searchable thing. And I thought like I did an okay job with the editing. I'm still learning how to do some of that stuff. This is much easier for me than editing stuff. But that got 130 views. So this thing that I thought I had figured out with 3,000 views, like the next video I do with the same style, similar kind of idea as far as like the hook and all of that, I thought was pretty clickable, 130 views. So like sometimes you're going to have wins and you're going to have a lot of losses. And you got to be the kind of person that can look at that and go like, okay, well, what can I learn from this? And I'm going to push forward if you're going to be making stuff. Or you're going to be the kind of person that you make 5 videos and those 5 videos get 12 views and one gets 24 and it gives you hope. And then the next one gives you 2 views and you're just like, forget it. I quit. Like you're going to be one of those kinds of persons. Like either one, you're going to push through it and try to learn, or you're going to be the person that gives up. And online content creation of any kind is difficult. Like if it was easy and like all these things about people making money and like, oh, how to get, for YouTube, how to get, whatever, what do they call it? Well, when you get commercials, whatever it is, monetize. Like you get monetized in 30 days. Well, cool. If everyone was doing that, then everybody would be making bank, but they're not because it's hard. Online content creation, if that's what you're wanting to do, if you're not just doing it as a hobby, you're trying to get some popularity, you're trying to even get money, you gotta strap in for this thing. Like here I am on this channel. There are 30 people watching this. I know this is not my normal kind of stream, so it's not going to be for everybody, but 30 people watching after what, like 4 years of this channel? And like, I think we're coming up on 3 years of me doing like the podcast like that. Some people would look at it and go like, is that a victory? Like it takes time. And you got to really be in it for the long haul. And like sometimes you'll get some success and you'll think like, oh, okay, now this is like the bottom line of what I can do. Like I need this amount of people to watch my thing or read my thing or listen to my thing. And then you'll fail. Like you'll have an epic fail, and that epic fail will continue for a while. And you got to think about it, what kind of temperament you have. Because if you're going to put your self-worth thing into this thing, like you're asking for heartache. Like just don't do it. But part of that is doing it alone. All right. If you are doing online content creation, find a community. All right. Find a community of not your wife. All right. I try my best not to talk to Heather about YouTube. It's hard because I love it so much and I'm passionate about it. And like, I'm also super frustrated with it. And so it's like on my brain a lot. But I try not to talk to her about YouTube too much because she doesn't care. Like she does care, but she doesn't at the same time. So I want to talk to people about YouTube that care about YouTube. So I talked to John and Jer. Like me, John and Jer have formed a great friendship that like I've talked about it a bunch. They're some of my closest friends and I talk to them almost every single day. And some of it is YouTube, some of it isn't. But at the very beginning, it was definitely a lot of YouTube. And so I found like-minded people. I've also been in some communities, some chat groups with people that I did like, but like we just didn't think about content the same way. Like they wanted to make different kinds of things. They were interested in other things that I was not interested in. You got to find the right people. So if you are, trying to do something with comic books, find a Facebook group that's all about comic books, and don't just throw your links in everything, but try to develop friendships because you're going to need those. You're going to need people that know what you're talking about and care enough to listen to what you have to say about that thing, like to get advice from. And like, again, people you'd respect. Like I've talked to some people with YouTube stuff, people that are smaller and people who are larger even, and been like, I don't think they know what they're talking about. Like, I'm not saying I do, but I know they don't. And so I take their opinion and I throw it away. But I found like-minded people that, one, they make content that I actually enjoy watching, so I respect it. But also, like, when they talk about like the analytics side and the growth side and all that kind of stuff, I kind of want to listen to them because I think that they actually know what they're talking about. And so you got to find those people. So don't do online content creation alone. Find people who are in that same niche, people that you respect, people that you can learn from, and try to develop friendships. Like, so like it might start off with everybody in this big circle of, I don't know, Discord or something like that. And then next thing you know, you have, a little text group where you're texting them all the time. And it's just like 2 or 3 of you, like develop those friendships so that you can get ideas from people that actually know what they're talking about and will listen to you complain about the stuff and care about it. and like maybe give you some insights that isn't just like, I don't know what to tell you, because like the people in your life, why would you expect them to know all these things about YouTube? Like they're not doing it. So find people that do YouTube and talk to them about it, or do blogs and talk to them about it, or podcasts, talk to them about it. Don't just talk to your friend who is so tired of listening to you complain about your podcast. Like, go talk to the podcaster, and you listen to them complain first, and then they'll listen to you complain. And maybe you can get some ideas and move forward. Let's go on to the next one. Whatever you do, do it well. All right. As unto the Lord. But I'm not really talking about that. I'm more of talking about tech. All right. Tech. It matters how you present yourself online. Now, this one is Apple Pencil is going to die. Fine. You know what? We'll go this way. Like, this stuff, I think, looks okay. I don't like that Christians specifically, like they just, all their stuff looks so boring and it looks bad and they don't present themselves well and their topics are boring and like it just, everything is bad. Don't do that. Don't do that. Try really hard to do your best and to present yourself in the best light. And I'm not saying that means spending a lot of money on a huge microphone and a big, nice camera. Like, you might not need to do that, but you should like learn how to use your stuff. Like if you are just starting out, and this goes for podcasts, this goes for video, you have an amazing device. I started my channel with an iPhone. And if anyone has looked at videos of people talking about how to get started specifically on YouTube, you will hear it constantly. Start with your iPhone, but really do it. But don't just start with your iPhone. Get some lighting. There are $50 soft boxes. All right. $50 soft boxes on Amazon. Get one of those things. It's from Mount Dog. There's a couple different names for it, but they're all pretty much the exact same. Get that $50 softbox and make the lighting look good. Get a microphone. It doesn't have to be a fancy one. I should have brought it down, but there was a microphone that I started with that is like you clip it into here, into the bottom of your iPhone, and it's just a lapel microphone, but it sounds 10 times as good as you just using the microphone on this guy. Try those things. You don't have to invest tons of money. You don't have to build out a studio. I think I've shown on this channel a couple times, sometimes I get lazy and I don't want to bring the lighting all up and make it look super fancy. And so some of the video in my living room hasn't been great. But people don't always watch me for that kind of stuff. So every once in a while I feel like I could be lazy today and not have to do it. But if you're only going to be doing it that way, and you can make your living room look great. You don't have to have a studio. You don't have to have all the fancy equipment. You could have your iPhone, one light, one softbox, which is $50, and a little microphone that you can get for $12. And you can start a YouTube channel and you can make it look pretty good. But you got to put some effort into it. So you got to watch some videos. You got to go on to, look at John Adams' stuff, go onto his channel, his tech stuff. Jared's great too, but like John is just like literally like everything he's ever done looks fantastic. So go onto his channel and look what he does. Look at where the eye catches his light and be like, all right, how does that work? Where is that coming from? And copy that, like just learn from people that are doing it well and try your best to make it look good because people want that. Like they might sit through a couple videos of, you in a car. Like there's a reason why I don't just stream from my van, even though I've streamed a couple times from my van. I don't do that because people only put up with that every once in a while. Like if you're just doing that on the regular, people generally don't like to see that. Now things are kind of shifting online where people want to be more relatable. It's why you see celebrity pastors all of a sudden going from like backdrops that cost like 10 grand to like, I'm sitting in my living room, or they make a fake living room for him and he sits there and he's trying to be more personable. There's something that's happening right now online with stuff like that, but you still want the quality to be good. So that means like knowing what you're talking about, only rambling if people are expecting you to ramble. Like I think I can ramble on this channel because people expect that. If I was like a very direct, content creator that was like doing my 10-minute videos and then I just ranted for an hour and a half, I think that would probably be a little weird, but I rant all the time and I ramble and people generally seem to like that. So like, that's why I do it. If everyone was always mad at me for doing it, I probably would shift it, but I haven't gotten too many complaints, or at least not enough complaints to really pay attention to it. So I do what I do, but put your best foot forward, try your best, and try your best to make the tech look good. So you might have to watch some videos. You might have to learn some things. You might have to do some trial and error, try new things, purchase a few things. Don't break the bank. Don't, go into debt trying to get, a good YouTube channel, because that's not going to pay off for you. But, like you could spend $65 if you really want to do it. Think about it like any hobby. If you want to go into like even something golf, all right? Golf costs a lot. All right. You got to pay for being on the green. You got to pay for the equipment. Like there are fees and costs that go into every hobby that you have, most likely. That isn't just watching TV. But even then, TV is getting really expensive. But like you have costs for all of that. So if this is a hobby that you want to do, if you want to get into it, and even if you're of the mind, like I have something to say, I have a unique message, something that like separates me from others. You found your niche, you think you have something creative to do online, invest in yourself a little bit. You don't have to break the bank, but do try to get like a few things, mostly microphone and mostly lighting. Because, you can look bad and people will be all right with that as long as they can understand you. Now, this is coming from a guy who, let's just say my audio wasn't super great a couple weeks ago. So, take it for what it is. But I do try, and sometimes I fail, but I do try. So try with your audio. Specifically, try to get a decent sound from your camera, from your mic, from your iPhone, smartphone, iPad, whatever you're using, because people will put up with so much more of like the video not looking good compared to the audio. Like I know for me, if I can't understand what that person's saying, or I have to listen really hard to understand, I'm turning off the video. It could be like the best looking thing on the planet. But if it's annoying me with the sound, I'm out. I don't know why people stuck through that stream a couple weeks ago here on my channel when my sound was so bad. But, generally it sounds pretty good. So try with your audio first, and then try to make, improvements with lighting and things like that to be able to make the video look better. So that's the stuff that I've thought through. Don't be clickbaity too much. And, don't be gross. It should go without saying, but there's a lot of Christian content creators that are gross. Like that, like they'll like make videos about sexuality and how it's wrong, like some specific thing that someone did, how it was over-sexualized, and then they'll post like the over-sexualized image in the thumbnail. Like, don't be that. Like, you can get people's attention without being crass. You can get people's attention without showing every aspect of what you're talking about in the thumbnail. But yeah, I'm going to start here at the bottom just because Lana and Billy put it in here as a question. I can see that right away. Let me see. This should work. Are we doing it? Is it working? Okay, cool. So Lana and Billy, what's up? Haven't seen you guys in a while. What do you think about people who use beauty filters on their YouTube channel? I don't know. Maybe someone should make one for me. I don't know. What would that look like? I don't know. Like, is that such a thing? I don't know. Already I'm showing like, I don't know a whole lot. Beauty filters? Like, is that just making the image softer? Like, I see some of that stuff on like Instagram reels and things like that. I didn't know you could, maybe they're just uploading it from that to YouTube. That's weird. That's weird to me. Present yourself as you are, you know, you shouldn't have to get all done up to do anything. You don't like that. It was one thing for Christians. Don't put on a sports jacket. All right. If you are anyone who's making a video and you think you have to put on a freaking suit jacket, to talk about anything, grow up. All right. Like, stop it. Like, you're just pretending. Stop pretending. Like, it's dumb. Don't do that. Be yourself. So I would probably apply that to that same thing. Like, you are who you are, you know, zits and all. So like, just be yourself. And, you know, sometimes you're going to get some hate, like, especially in the Christian world. I don't know what it is. I get so many more comments about my appearance on this channel compared to my movie channel. It's kind of insane and it's depressing sometimes. But Christians, at least I shouldn't say Christians, because it's like people who are lured in because like they're following after Mark Driscoll or John MacArthur, or, you know, like they're very much like conservative leader. I don't know, like just hype men for those people. And so maybe they're Christians, maybe they're not, but they like, if they can't find anything to talk to about like what I actually discussed, they'll make a comment about my appearance. So get used to that kind of stuff. But yeah, let me go up a little bit and see if there's anything here. All right. Sweet Pam. This content is just what I need right now. Thanks, Dean. You're welcome. I hope that some of this has been helpful. Yes. Carol Ann says, you're so right. Do what you love and your godliness will show through. Yeah. And like, I don't know. I think Christians have to be a little bit more careful about our agendas and how see-through they can be. All right. Example. All right. We're different than the JWs. Let me be clear. But yesterday I was walking with my youngest, and I heard someone pull up in their car really weirdly, like just like screech of tires. And I looked behind me and there was a lady getting out and I was like, that's weird. But whatever, because it was like right behind us. But then I hear her say, excuse me, sir. And I thought maybe I dropped something. And so I look back and I'm like, yes. And this lady shows me this pamphlet, like this magazine looking thing. And she's like, I've been looking for a family to give this to. And I'm like, okay, what is this? And she opens up the magazine thing, and on the left corner on the bottom page, bottom of the page, it says jw.org. And I just looked at her and I said, ma'am, I'm not interested in joining your cult. I have somewhere to be. Bye. And she said something about like, as I walked away, because I was in a hurry. Actually, I was on my way to give my son his insulin for his lunch, because the school's not far, so I walk. And she was just like, my name is whatever, and I said, I like, what did I say? I said, good for you, as I walked away. But like, Christians can kind of be like that sometimes. Like, it's not that much, but like, don't be the kind of person that's just like, I got you here because I'm talking about a house remodel, and now I'm going to throw in like 8 scripture verses rapid fire, and you like, before I give you that. It's like, don't trap people like this. It's kind of weird, and I don't think it's like, you can talk about some gospel-y things while you're doing things, but don't just be like, I've now trapped you for a sermon. I think that's weird for online content. You know, like, I don't know. But I'm also the person that like evangelize through relationships, but some people are like, no, you got to present the gospel every single time to every single person you've ever met in your entire life. It's like, well, I don't know if that's the most helpful way. Take a shot every time Dean says Uncle Doug. Well, there's one. I was thinking of starting a trad wife channel. Do what you know. Or are you a novice and you're learning about it? Did you see The Christian Fling? Nope, I don't know. Eric says, I like you. I appreciate that. Lukewarm No More says, I got a sweet pic, selfie with good old Joel and Victoria. Was that Joel Steen? Funny. I have a young man I've been ministering to for a few years who was under Carl Lentz at Hillsong. He came into my life just weeks before Carl's scandal broke out. Okay, that's cool, I guess. Let's see. We need skeletons. Nice. Yeah. Okay. If anyone has any specific questions about content creation, like that's what we'll do. I Can't Spell says, your thumbnail for this stream had a pic of Uncle Doug. I feel clickbaited. No, it did not. No, it did not. It better not have. I don't believe it did. I don't know. Maybe it did. I made one for it. It shouldn't have. Love the fact that you still have VHS tapes in the back. It's fun. I like it. Nope, I'm not going to do it. I see that lukewarm no more. I'm not doing that in the chat. The funniest part in Orange County is when Jack Black says, following me, and jumps over the traffic barrier. LOL. No, it is not. The funniest time is when Colin Hanks' character throws himself into the pool and he's going toward the bottom and you hear like the Brian Wilson song playing. It's perfect. Like, take me down. And then like Jack Black looks at him. He's like, Sean! And he runs and he's in his undies. So some of you guys are like mad that I would even be talking about this on my Christian channel, but he's running and he's jumping into the pool, but he's like taking his socks off and everything to get over there. And he does like this weird kick to go into the pool. Every time it makes me laugh so hard. And just like how crazy he gets trying to save his brother. But I just think it's hilarious. So that's what I think is the funniest part. But you know, we're all different people and it's okay to have different favorite parts as long as we're all talking about how great Orange County is. The Talk Down guys from former Babylon Bee wear suit jackets over a t-shirt and then gym shorts. Well, they're trying to be funny. That makes sense. Like if you're doing like it for comedy, but I see people who put on a sports jacket to do a stream. And it's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, I'm wearing shorts underneath this. Like, and you guys know, I'm usually rocking a Carhartt shirt and a Vans hat. Like, I just wear what I wear. And it's just, it seems so fake to me. I am so against fake content where people are putting on a show of not anywhere close to like the kind of personality that they have or like the kind of person that they are. And they're just doing a show to like act like they are that person. I hate that kind of stuff. Like it works in movies, but you're not a movie star, you know, like you're a content creator, be yourself. People want to know who you are. And so I think those guys do it for fun. Yes, you should. Yeah. I'm not saying it's the nicest thing. I was in a hurry, but she was like taken back, I think. But I was just like, because she stopped me and I'm like on my way to give insulin to my kid. And she wants to like trap me. And I just think about it, like I was at the park. Like we had just gotten done playing at the park and I was on my way to give my son his insulin. And so she probably was driving around the park and then was, I've been looking for a family to give this to. Like, what a weird way to put it. Like that is what they trained her to say. And I just like was so angry in the moment. So I was just like, I'm not interested in your clothes. So maybe not everyone has to react that way. Dean, do you use a soundboard on streaming? I plug my mic straight into my laptop. Yes. All right. Specific question. I use the Zoom PodTrack P4 because this is an XLR microphone, so it needs an XLR connection and interface, and then that goes into my computer. But here's what I'll say about that. I used to think like that's what I had to do, especially if I was going to get into podcasting, which is what I thought Underdog Theology would be, is like a podcast doing 2 shows a week and like get really fine tune the audio and like make it like really, really crispy. And so I needed this microphone, I needed that audio interfaces, and I needed like all like this stuff. And then I watch people with that Shure MV7 thing, or now the Rode Pod mic, the new one can do USB 2. And I listened to it and I'm like, that sounds really good. So like this is a lot more expensive than just a Rode pod mic, but the Rode pod mic sounds just as good. So, like just because I have this doesn't mean you have to. Also, there are really cheap interfaces that do a pretty good job. I used to have the Zoom U24 and I got that for $80. And that's what I used when I had my Rode pod mic, like the first generation one. And that worked really well for a time. And then I started getting some weird stuff. But, just use what works. People use the Blue Yeti. I think it's a little overrated and hasn't been updated in a while, but you could use it. But there's tons of great mics out there. And just watching channels that blow up and the microphones that they use, it doesn't seem like it matters. As long as you get a good quality sound. If you're sounding really bad and your levels are too low, which mine sometimes are, I need to work on being better about that. But also if it sounds like you're in a tin can, like people aren't going to watch that because the audio is so bad. And especially if you're getting into podcasting. If you're getting into podcasting, I would say like the people say like go video podcast. If you want to just be an audio podcast, just focus on the audio. Like forget about the video because it will mess you up and it costs more. Video costs a lot more than audio stuff. But yeah, so that's what I use. Let me see. Okay. All right. We got about 10 more minutes. And then I got to do some other stuff. You like Jaws. I was a teenager when that movie came out. I won't see it. Why? It's the best movie ever made. Dean, I can't spell my son. We have a great idea, a channel, but he thinks we need a ton of money to get started. What is your idea? What is your idea? But most likely you don't. Like there are tons of ways that you can do things. So sports jacket equals master seminary. I know exactly. I told him we could grow it. Do it. Pam says, question, what would be a good starter mic for Dylan's 90s music podcast? A starter mic? Probably one that he already has. If he has a Shure SM57, go with that. That's just like the normal microphone that everybody uses. In another life, I would have just bought that rather than this once I realized like, that's such a good microphone. Like I was messing around with the buddies and I was like, this is pretty fantastic. So like I've got that, Shure PG 48. I don't know if I'm getting the numbers right. But like the standard Shure, I think it's not the SMB 57. What is it? Maybe it is the 58. I'm going to look it up real quick just so I can be. I want to be, SM58, the Shure SM58. A lot of musicians have it already for just singing vocals. It is great for podcasts, but you got to have the interface. And if you're not doing any of those things, like you could probably get away like a used Rode pod mic online would be a good one. There's tons of them. Just look up. I don't know. I'm not like a great tech person. Ask John Adams. He probably would know better. But if he has an interface, and you can buy cheap interfaces. So if he already has the Shure SM57 or something like that, one of those ones that's good for vocals for musicians, then just use that and get a cheap interface. Look on Amazon. There's warehouse deals that you can look into. Used ones on Facebook Marketplace. But yeah, if he already has that. Do you do soundproofing for your room, Dean? No, I don't. And that's why I have this microphone. Like this is a dynamic microphone. Like some people with podcasts, they do the cardioid microphone. condenser microphone, and that is like usually you have like a grate and you speak in front of it, like, you know, and it's like standing up straight and you're like speaking in front of it. Those are great. Those give you a great sound. But if you don't have a soundproof room, like, or a room that's been, you know, treated, then you're going to get like the reverb off the walls. It's going to sound odd. But I use the dynamic microphone because like it obviously doesn't sound great here. If this was like a condenser microphone and it was like right here, it might actually sound a lot better than right now, but I'm always uptight with this thing. And this is but you don't get the background noise. Like upstairs, my kids are watching Harold and the Purple Crayon, and it is very loud. And I can hear it, but hopefully you can't. And this room is not treated at all. Like there are 2 walls right now that I don't have anything on. So like there should be sound bouncing back at me. If I was using a different style microphone, it would, but that's why I like the dynamic microphones, because it doesn't matter as much what your room is like. You can still get a good sound. But yeah, the posters are soundproofing, son. It's true. I mean, in a way it is, but like I said, it is literally right here. Like what you see is what is on a wall. The rest of it is bare wall, or at least like I still have my black panels over on this side that I was using for a background for a bit, but then I just didn't like it very much, so I stopped using it. But those are still up there, and they do absorb a little bit of sound, but not much. I got the name of the movie wrong, Forge. What? No. Lukewarm no more. Like Theocast mics. You like Theocast mics? What mics do they use? They always post pictures of themselves with their microphones, so I could probably see it. Oh yeah. Well, of course you do. They're using the SM7Bs because those are legit. I don't know. Sometimes I wish I had gotten that, but I also like the look of this. This is a different mic, and I like being different. So, like, everyone has the SM7B, and it's a great microphone. Most people don't even know how to use it. All right, the Peters guy. This is not how you use a Shure SM7B. Is by having it 3 feet away, not 3 feet, but like 2 feet away from your face. That's not how you use this kind of a microphone. All right. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but you talk right into it. And the SM7B is the same way. And it always bugs me, and it shows me those people are just buying because they've been told what to buy and they don't know how to use it. But Theocast guys, they know how to use it. But yeah. You were describing theirs. Yes, they have the SM7Bs, and they're really great. But they're also like up here, they're $530. So that's really expensive. This one, I think $290 is what this microphone was. And then again, you got to factor in the interface and all that kind of stuff. But you don't have to spend that much. Like I said, $12 for, just a microphone that you plug into your phone. That could work, and it could sound a lot better than your phone. And then you can upgrade later, It's fine. It's all fine. So those are my thoughts on how to do content creation. And, just try it. Try it, give it a shot, be diligent in it. And, who knows what could happen. And again, if you're doing it just for a hobby, then just do it for the hobby. Don't be one of those Christians that, traps people, like you wouldn't do it with another hobby, right? Like if you're a kite guy and you're just like, you like flying kites, you don't write John 3:16 into your kite. If you're making sandwiches, you don't carve it into that. Like it's just something that about like social media with messaging that you feel like you have to like really get the gospel out every single time you do something as a Christian. You can just talk about movies. That's fine. You can talk about cars. That's fine. You can talk about Lord of the Rings if you're a real nerd, But some people got mad at me when I was talking about Lord of the Rings. One last thing I'll talk about, a little bonus. Let me see. What is the time at? Okay, little bonus. Get yourself an iPad. All right. If you're a content creator, get yourself an iPad. This thing can do anything, almost anything. I used to run my YouTube channel completely off of my iPad. Live streaming is difficult, but now it's doable. Like there are things you can do to live stream just from an iPad. But there's an app called Procreate that is $30, no fee that's ongoing. You pay $30 once and you can make your thumbnails forever, logos forever. It's pretty powerful software. And this is just the normal iPad. This isn't, one of them fancy ones. This is just a normal iPad, and you can do all of your thumbnails on it. You can make some really cool stuff. It's how I do literally all of my graphics, even the editing. Like the editing software that I use is called LumaFusion. I don't have to pay for DaVinci, whatever. Like I think DaVinci is free, but there's like add-ons. But you don't have to pay for like all these different programs that are really expensive, like $300 to get started making anything. Nope, you can use free stuff. I will say a little trick for you. If even if you're thinking about just doing audio, LumaFusion has a lot of audio stuff. Like they have plugins that you could use and put all kinds of stuff added onto your voice, get rid of some of the background hiss, all that kind of stuff. You could do it with LumaFusion. It's $30. It's pretty great. You could do so much crap with an iPad. And if you really want to know, how to use an iPad, there's a guy here in the chat who could tell you something about it. But literally anything that you've seen that you've thought, wow, that's kind of cool, what Dean made for that, I made it with an iPad. And not the iPad Pro. I've never had an iPad Pro. Just the normal iPad. And it works great. It's fantastic. Does everything that you can. But yeah, what is this? What is this? Well, I'm thinking about starting a YouTube channel where I just talk about how wrong Dean's Lord of the Rings opinions are. I'll watch it. Like, I'll watch it. If you're going to make a channel just for me, I'll watch it. But I'm not wrong. I'm right. I'm right. I'm sorry. When I just call it like I see it, nerd, like, I'm sorry. My wife loves it. Okay. I'm really excited for Rings of Power tomorrow because I love Rings of Power, but I don't love Lord of the Rings. Oh, and they're all angry at me about it, but John supports it. So there's that. All right. I hope this has been helpful and not just me rambling. But I know it was me rambling, but I hope that it was helpful anyways, anyways, I will see you guys, in another life. Wait. Hold up. Hold your horses, people. 16 of you who haven't clicked on this video. Don't you turn it off now. I got one more tip. All right. Here's what you need to do. All right. I got one more. I'm going to put it on. Here we go. Here's what you guys need to be able to do in order to be successful on YouTube. Do an extra. Get something to end your streams, because otherwise you will end up like me, never knowing how to end a video, never knowing how to end a stream. It's just a vicious cycle of me just rambling and not knowing how to turn it off, thinking, can I come up with something creative in the next 6 seconds to be able to end a stream with? And I can't. And so I just keep on going, and it's just an endless loop. And the next thing you know, you stream for 2.5 hours when you told your wife you were only going to stream for an hour and a half, all because of that stupid extra. So just make it extra. It's really easy. Like all you have to do is like literally have a black screen, just have a black screen, and that's all you need. But for me, I don't know how to do it. And I always just go like, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to make a new extra and it'll be cool. And then I look at the schedule that I want to have with a new stream, and it's just like, I don't have time to do that. And then I just talk forever.